Hello, everybody. This is Megan.
And this is Alana.
And welcome to Tea Time Crimes. Hello, everybody. We're back to regular format, as regular as we ever get. How are you doing, Alana?
Look how demonic I look.
Yeah, can you guys see that on this audio podcast?
It's scary.
Her record light is bouncing off of her forehead. What's the news? What's going on? What's happening?
What is the news?
Got a flamingo back there, or?
No flamingo. I'm not a big fan of flamingos. They're very stinky.
I promise you, if a flamingo ended up in your yard, you would take care of it.
Yeah, but
Yep,
it doesn't
there it is. That was
smell
quick.
good.
Well, few animals do.
Yeah, but they're very stinky. Like, I speed walk past them at the zoo.
Well, that's because they're in mass. It's like 100 flamingos.
I'm just not a fan.
Well, rude. I hope the flamingo community can pick up the pieces after that.
I'm not here for them.
Wow. I hope 10 flamingos end up in your yard in the next month because you said that.
They escape the zoo.
Yeah, they just end up there.
Ugh, no. I'd rather have my whistling ducks. Precious.
Ducks are pretty stinky.
Yeah, but these are, their faces are just so gentle, and they'll come in pairs.
Are they?
And they're just really sweet. But last time we went to the zoo, they were all there. So it's like, that's not where you're supposed to be. They were in the rhino exhibit.
Oh, not as an exhibit. They were
not as an exhibit.
They were just stopping by.
And there were hundreds of them. Because I was like, man, I haven't seen our whistling ducks in a while. It's like, well, I know
Here they are. They probably went to visit the flamingos and tell them, hey, here's where you need to go next.
Yeah, probably.
I hope. All right. Well, should we just, tea review at the top too. And it's finally you. You're back in action. Should we just launch into your tea?
Yes.
Take us away.
Okay. So this is the same company as when we did an episode with the Reverend and the Reprobate, and we discovered that nobody knew what mulled wine was.
Well, it sounds like you're saying mold.
Mulled wine. Mold
with a U. Yeah.
From Many Worlds Tavern. So it's that nerdy company, and it has this nice, it's called Sleepy Fields Chamomile.
Ooh.
Botanical blend. Oh, and there's a little black cat.
Oh, little Nymeria. Cute.
Yeah. I'll show you guys on the Insta. All right. So let's take you to slumbering meadows. Elders say that golden fields of dreams await those that pass from the material plane, but there are
Excuse me? There are fuckboys there? What's happening?
Maybe.
It's your dream, you know what I mean?
But
try to recover from this. How I've missed your tea reviews.
But there are a lucky few travelers.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Who have seen them during life. Endless fields of gold are dotted by alabaster blooms and the ruins of temples that once worshipped them. A peaceful magic permeates the air so completely that it breaks down the barrier between the waking world and that of dreams. Those few that have returned from this realm are said to be forever gifted with pleasant slumber.
My goodness, that was a whole story.
I know.
Nice. So, nicely done with a little aside in there by you to make it your own. A little bit of flair.
Some fuckboys, yep.
Yeah.
It's a world without a fuckboy. Okay. So yeah, this is like a basic chamomile. When I poured out the tea, it's just a bunch of chamomile flowers, which just makes me happy, you know? Okay.
Does it?
It does. All right, we're going in for a dip. Oh, I have something else to talk about.
Cool. Way to keep that conversation flowing. Oh my goodness.
That's hot.
That's what she said.
That's hot. Who's that?
Paris Hilton.
Yeah, baby. I bet you Gen Z doesn't know that.
I got that early
is so
2000s.
our generation.
I know it was. It very much is.
What's she up to? She came back on the scene recently, no?
I mean, I didn't know then and I don't know now, but I'm probably thoroughly impressed.
Wasn't she adopted? That's her friend, Richie. What's her name?
Nicole, and also not on topic. But
Okay.
yeah, I think they're both doing great. That's what I hope for them anyway.
It's a classic chamomile, but some chamomiles are very timid. This one's like, I am a flower and I'm here. You can't just tread on me.
Oh, all right.
And so it's a herbal, so there's no body, but there's almost a semblance of one because of its strong flavor. I just appreciate it. Again, we're talking about flavors of tea. Don't be shy. Go for it. And this one went for it.
I'm picturing that this chamomile has a little sign in its office that says, don't confuse my manners with weakness.
Ooh.
Or whatever that saying is. I feel like that's what we've got going on here with this chamomile
That's so
tea.
right. Yeah. Gosh. It's not a fuckboy thumbs up, but let's see. Oh gosh. I don't know. It's a meadowy thumbs up.
Okay. I mean,
a peaceful meadowy.
They never make sense. So
they do. I'm setting this I'm setting the scene, you know.
Yeah, oh, you said it.
What if I talk like Paris the whole episode?
I don't think she talks like that anymore, does she?
I don't know. We don't know. What's she up to?
I don't know.
Okay.
I did not cover that in my research this week.
God damn it.
I know. I just can never anticipate. I always fail you. Always and forever.
Excuse me?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going on a journey of deodorants.
Are you going to take us with you?
Yes.
Okie dokie. Please skip ahead if you'd not like to go on this journey with us. Continue.
So, don't skip ahead. You know how you're not supposed to use aluminum deodorants?
Aluminium?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's a really tough battle because you're used to it and stuff like that. But I've been trying to branch out.
Well, the others smell.
And I've found, actually, after some trial and errors, because I have a very sensitive nose, so I can't handle smelly, as we know at the Flamingos. Native deodorant. It's actually working, and so there's no aluminum in it, and we're getting through it. But it's just, I just want you to know I've been going on this journey, and it has not all been easy.
It's been stinky.
It's never stinky. It's more the feeling. Like
really,
like I'm used to like a nice smooth thing, and it hasn't been stinky, but it's been like
crumbly.
Not even these days. The one I used that I didn't like, it was like gummy. Worse. Yeah. But this one has been okay.
So the brand is Native?
Native.
And is there a flavor or a scent or something?
So I accidentally
Don't eat it.
Don't eat it. I accidentally picked a masculine one because they don't say. It's all just like, pick whatever. I was between cucumber, mint, and then cedar and something else. And I should have known with it when it said cedar.
You went with the woodsy smell?
Yeah, because it smelled nice.
You smell like the huntsman from Snow White is what I'm imagining.
No, I imagine that guy smells fucking awful. Can you imagine? He's dealing with like dead animals all the time. When's the last time he took a bath? The queen ain't letting him in her chambers.
She might
Unless
if he's her fuckboy. That's the Snow White version they don't tell you.
Yeah. Ooh.
I imagine then she'd spray him down with some cedar chips.
There you go.
All right, well.
Okay, here we are.
So you recommend it? You give Native a thumbs up?
Yeah, a non-smelly thumbs up.
Okay, all right, I'll just stick with that. You ready to get into the case today?
Oh, yeah. That's what
cool.
we're here to do.
It's a recommendation.
Oh!
Yes, and I don't know.
Fun.
I don't know from who because you just sent me a screenshot of it. I think it was through Instagram, but I don't know if we can say their name because they didn't say. But thank you. The person will know who they are once I get started. Thank you so much for sending this.
You are Moana. Okay.
Good Lord. All right. I think you're going to really enjoy this one. This person was right on for finding our cup of tea on this one.
Oh, is she like Bricktop?
By the fall of 1939, the country is at war.
See.
Glenn Miller is all over the Billboard charts, and swing is starting to become all the rage to set the scene. Yeah. But those not in combat are turning to music, comedies, and gangsta movies to escape reality.
Fun.
For some, those bold gangsters on the silver screen were more than just an escape. They were a blueprint for a new, exciting way of life.
Uh-oh.
But for one woman, that blueprint would become dangerous, leading to life on the run, police chases, and murder.
Oh.
Yeah, you're going to like it. She was known as Ruby Coleman, Jean O'Connor, Dorothy McNally, Joyce Palmer, Joyce Larimore, and Shirley Hoffman.
Wow, that's a lot of aliases.
The media called her the Untamed Wildcat.
Oh.
Two-Gun Girl.
Oh.
Or my favorite, 90 Pounds of Nitro.
Yes.
Wow.
These are the nicknames we need to come up with, gals. Not the Red Mary, Irish Mary, New York Mary. Judy comes home with the soap.
Judy comes home with the soap. But her mother called her Isabelle.
Okay.
Isabelle Messmer was born to Ethel Decker December 1914 in Elwood, Indiana. Shortly after her birth, the family moved to Colorado, where Ethel divorced Isabel's father, whose name was never revealed.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then returned to Elwood. Here, Ethel remarried Frank Decker and settled down to raise her daughter. By Isabel's own account, her mother was kind to her, as was her stepfather.
Okay.
He was able to provide for her in a way that a single mother at that time could not, and he treated her well.
Good.
Ethel and Frank went on to have 2 more children, and according to Isabel, that is when the family started to struggle a little bit financially. As the late 20s started to hit, Frank's pay was cut during the Depression, and with more children to support, Ethel started working outside the home. And like many families across America, they had to make do with what they had.
Yeah.
Isabel didn't love this. There was no animosity. She just wanted nicer things. This is what she's saying. This is her account. And she decided to start earning her own money. An article in the Daily News wrote that Isabel was considered difficult, let's say, as a young child. And this is a quote. Very early, she developed a habit of fanning her little tail around the room, and this characteristic continued later in life. That extreme twist of the buttocks, which she employed apparently for the purpose of attracting attention.
Oh my God, the first twerker!
That's what I wrote. I said, number 1, if you saw twerking today, madam. And 2, I believe what they're describing is over-sexualization at a young age, which is usually a sign of abuse.
Oh.
But that is not what, nobody's going there because that's not a connection they were making at the time. But I want us to keep that in the back of our minds as we're learning more about Isabel.
Shaking her tail feathers.
Because in 3rd grade, her teacher used to stand over her. So 3rd grade, think of how little you are.
You're 8.
Yeah, and watch her assignments because Isabel would sneak in details that were shocking to the class.
Oh, like write a penis?
I think words. I don't think drawings.
Oh.
And in that same article, there's a quote that said, her knowledge of sex at that age was, to the teacher's thinking, extraordinary. Which you're not learning that at 8 in the 1920s.
Wow.
So that makes me think something was going on.
Yeah.
That Isabel did not share. Or maybe she did and nobody did anything.
Right.
But Mrs. Decker was very protective of Isabel and would fight anyone at the school who spoke badly of her. Good. There's even a tale of Mrs. Decker pulling a butcher knife during a parent-teacher conference.
Yes.
So maybe don't mess with Isabel.
Love that.
But in 5th grade, she was kicked out and she had to attend a different school.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Now, this is me reading into the articles a little bit. Nobody said this, but
read between the lines.
Seemed that Isabel might have felt a little bit of an outsider in her own family.
I mean, that's got to be hard, right? Like, you have a new dad, you have new siblings. Like, you are kind of the outsider.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone was perpetuating this belief, but Isabel mentioned that as the oldest, it would be easier if her parents, when times were tough, just focused on the younger kids, and that would be the fair thing to do.
That makes me sad.
I know, and so I think part of her was feeling maybe a little bit removed. Also, we don't know. I think that those are strong signs of abuse that she doesn't ever mention, and so we don't know what's going on. So in 1930, at the age of 15, Isabel set out to find the finer things and more excitement than the small city of Elwood could give her. She dropped out of high school and started hopping trains around the country.
Lordy. Don't do it, kids.
She had already started to be part of some small-time robberies. And again, this is all according to her in retrospect, so take this with a grain of salt because the girl likes to tell a tale.
Okay.
Which I fully appreciate. But she was just making small amounts from these small-time robberies, and she had big ambitions, criminal or otherwise. She wanted to make money, so she left for a big city. Once on her own, Isabelle started conning men by, quote, allowing myself to be picked up by a man, end quote. She would then go back to their hotel, I assume confabulate, although the papers did not mention it, then rob them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. The men would be married and therefore keep their mouths shut.
Got him.
Got him. Take that. A year later, Isabelle continued to live away from Elwood and for a short time was employed by a family. I assume as some sort of domestic servant or maybe a nanny, but I don't even know if that's true. That seems like maybe something she would tell her mother.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, don't worry, Mom, I've got a great job.
Yeah.
But she was abruptly returned home to 227 North 7th Street in Elwood by the chief of police when she was found abandoned in Ohio.
What?
Isabelle said she'd left her job and hit the road with a traveling salesman to see Wapakoneta, which is a city in Ohio.
Okay.
But then they were out to dinner and the man left her stranded. According to Isabelle, the salesman used more than one name, all presumed to be aliases, and they were unable to find him, they being the police, although I'm not sure what his crime was. He just ghosted her. So
yeah.
It doesn't make, maybe the fact that she was 16 and he was a man. I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to pursue here. I feel like the whole story was not presented. Either
That's
way,
weird.
Isabelle's picked up. She's still very young. Sent back to her mother. A few months later, Isabelle was again arrested in Indiana and returned home to her parents. I cannot understand what happened, but here's what the Anderson Herald reported. When an officer accosted the girl, she said she was 18 years old. She stepped into an automobile of Howard Harwood of near Greenfield. Harwood forced the girl from the car. So I think she's trying to pick up men, and the police are trying to stop her. Yeah. And she's also not 18. She's only 16. She lies about her age all over the place. Sometimes both ways. Sometimes she's young, sometimes she's older. We can only assume that Isabelle kept up this lifestyle, traveling wherever a whim took her and then returning back to her mother when it suited or when the police intervened.
Yeah.
But Isabelle hit the papers in a whole new way in October of 1933 when officers in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania saw her retrieve 2 guns from a locker at the bus station and put them in her purse. The officers followed her to the hotel. Wildly underestimating the now 18-year-old, the police were surprised when she fought back, throwing punches and landing kicks.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Still, the officers managed to place Isabelle under arrest, but it took more than one person to wrestle her into the car. She continued to fight down at the station, refusing fingerprints and punching whoever got in her way.
Love it.
I knew you would. Investigating the young woman, who they just brought into custody, police learned she was registered at the hotel as Jean O'Connor of Cicero Street in Chicago. There were even letters addressed to Geraldine O'Connor. There were also letters addressed to Phyllis Walker and Jean Thompson, either aliases or people she was doing business with. There was also a letter to Mrs. Frank Decker at Isabelle's Elwood City address. An article would run in the Star Press that claimed Mrs. Decker, which is Isabelle's mother, recognized the name Jean O'Connor as a friend of her daughter she had met. She was like a vaudeville performer.
Yeah.
While traveling with the show. Wow. Mrs. Decker went on to further try and protect the reputation of her daughter, which is something she's going to do a lot over the next few years, and claimed Isabelle was in the area simply because she was enrolled in riding lessons to further improve her performance skills for the shows. And that she was headed home at the time of the arrest. When asked why her daughter had a gun in the first place, Mrs. Decker explained it was to protect herself from a cousin who had threatened her at the time.
Okay.
We didn't get into the deets on that cousin, but it seems extreme.
Yeah.
Now, during the investigation, it also came to light that Isabelle had been held in D.C. for the same reason, having a gun in public. Police in Muncie, Indiana were also familiar with Isabelle, whom they dubbed the girl with the imagination after she became an informant.
What?
Saying she knew the crew responsible for a robbery and the murder of patrolman James McCracken during a theft.
What?
The police traveled to Chicago and Texas off of Isabelle's tips before they realized that they were probably made up.
Oh, no.
They had believed her based on a slew of letters she had received from the crew, but it's thought that she wrote those herself. For her current troubles, Isabelle stated that the gun was, quote, a matter of protection. She told the Pittsburgh Sun, why shouldn't a girl carry a gun? Even 2 guns.
I mean, it's fair.
I know. You'll see. She's very interesting.
Okay.
Although the papers ate up this story, featuring a picture of Isabelle down at the station holding a gun with like the sheriff across from her, not as pleased, holding another gun. Like Isabelle looks like she looks like she started the like index finger pistol shoot.
Oh,
Like she looks like that, like, and the sheriff looks like he's about to load that gun.
Oh.
And the newspapers are loving it.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. And they're running with the backstory that Isabelle's a vaudeville performer, specifically a tap dancer, and a gambler whose birth father owned a carnival.
Whoa, that's just...
We don't know if any of this is true.
Yeah.
I think Isabelle would like to think all of those things, and maybe some of it is true. We don't know.
Maybe.
So Isabelle's argument for her arrest was that guns were for her safety, and they were in the hotel, not at the station.
Mm-hmm.
But the detectives, who were still sporting several bruises from their encounter with Isabelle, said that was not the case. The entire reason they were at the hotel was because they followed her once they saw her take a gun out of the locker.
Oh.
Now, the original article said she had 2 guns in her purse, but police clarified that she actually only took 1 gun from the locker, put it in her purse. They followed her, and then there was a second gun at the hotel when they searched the room.
Okay, because I was really struggling. How do you fit
in
a purse?
Yeah.
How big is the purse?
Exactly. So this is where she started getting the name 2 Gun Girl.
Got it.
But one was at the station, one was back at the hotel. You know, you want to have options. Isabelle was charged with violating the Firearms Act, and once she saw the charges, she decided to plead guilty.
Okay.
She was sentenced to 2 years.
Okay.
But after 2 months, she was paroled, providing that she, quote, quit Pennsylvania and stop kicking. It's like these gentlemen have never met a real criminal. You should.
This is amazing.
The Wilkes-Barre Times leader quoted the officer as saying, well, she's gone anyhow. That's a break. Maybe we'll get some rest now.
Stop. That's hilarious. Were they like, pinky promise, no more kicking?
Yes, you're going to go in timeout. The same article describes the hotel fight as follows. She landed a right toe to the left shin, then to the right shin, then swung a haymaker for the nose of one of the officers. It connected.
Oh, yes.
I think she broke one of their noses.
Oh.
Whoops. She tried to use the guns, and you guys, problem. So Isabelle managed to stay out of trouble for only a few weeks. And by the middle of January 1934, she was in custody again. Oh. This time for stealing $900 from a Florida businessman named Carl Friend.
That's a lot of money.
I know, back then, right?
Yeah.
It's a ton. According to Carl, Isabelle had held him at gunpoint. Obviously, she's got 2 of them.
Yeah.
Then taken the funds and fled. She was further ID'd by C.H. Silverman, a chauffeur who said he was also held at gunpoint and forced to drive her around, but on like a different day. These are 2 things happening back to back. It wasn't long before the police realized that Isabelle is Pittsburgh's 2 Gun Girl, the one that's been featured in all the papers, even though she was going by the name Joyce Larimore at this point. She was charged, held in jail, and just about a week later, all charges were dropped because the state had been misinformed. That's a quote. Apparently, Carl recanted his story, and Isabelle was released.
What?
Again, only with a promise not to return to that city either.
But you can keep kicking.
Yeah, she can kick in Florida. She just can't go in it.
Got it.
Pittsburgh, she's got to stop all the kicking and all the visiting. Yeah, both. So I don't know if Carl was embarrassed that the story got out. I don't know if he was married. I don't know what happened.
But isn't it too late by that point?
If he's not going to press charges, then they're not going to follow her around for $900. Okay. The state isn't. Every time Isabelle returns home to Elwood, the local papers are all over. She's a little bit of a celebrity.
Yeah, I wonder how her family feels about it.
Oh, I don't know that her mother loves it. They conduct small interviews with this gun-toting gal, and she states that she prefers the name Izzy. That's what she goes by.
Okay.
And she makes it clear every time that she's just passing through. It's too cold and it's too boring, basically, is what she said.
Love it.
And even though she's been told on several occasions to stop carrying a gun, she says she just needs to. She's a real vibe. She's really wanting. Can't you like picture her so vividly in your mind? And she's
perfectly
got the 1930s clothes, and she's drinking and swearing and smoking and
like go for Chicago or New York, girly.
I don't think she gets that far. She keeps getting arrested. In August of that same year, Isabelle finds herself arrested in D.C.
Oh, okay. That's a step up.
This time accused of several holdups across town where she disguised herself as a boy.
Okay.
Or she maybe just wore pants. It's very hard for me to tell. It seems very Golden Girls in the men's locker room, if anybody knows that episode, where Blanche, Dorothy, and Rose dress up as men to go in the locker room to find Bob Hope. They look like 50-year-old women wearing golf hats. That's it. But like everybody's fooled. That's the vibe I was getting when I saw the pictures. I was like, yeah, she's
100%.
She's wearing one of those like 1930s caps. That's it. And everybody's freaking out.
That's a boy.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, either way, the Evening Star reports a 19-year-old girl who weighs only 91 pounds and dresses alternatively as a man and a woman was arrested by detectives today in a downtown hotel as a hold-up suspect.
Whoa.
Apparently, how she was caught is her wig gave her away.
Oh.
Police noticed her natural hair coming out from under her blonde wig. And then they found a gun in her room because obviously, duh. Now, I have to say, the bust here seems a little bit of a stretch to me because basically Isabelle alternates between a blonde wig and a dress. And then she has naturally a short brunette bob.
Okay.
That she wears with a hat, a shirt, and something called duck pants, which I didn't have the energy to look up. And it's absolutely blowing the mind of 1934, like I said. They start calling it her girl-boy disguise, which, again, she just seems to be wearing pants. But the police saw the brown hair sticking out from under the blonde wig, and that was enough for them to follow her. And then when she came back out of the hotel dressed as a boy, wearing pants, they were like, let's throw on the sirens, fellas. This is something crazy. And they pulled her over just for that, which is blowing my mind.
Yeah, that's a little wonky there.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, Isabelle doesn't have the best track record, but not a single witness they brought in from the holdups ID'd Isabelle as the assailant.
There you go.
So I don't think she was actually involved in any of this.
She just got pulled because she was dressing differently.
Because she wore pants. Yeah. They're also super into the fact that she weighs 91 pounds, in case you're wondering. They bring it up a lot. It is little, but they'll mention it frequently. It's unclear to me if Isabelle did anything at all illegal at the time, or if she just wasn't involved in the holdup. I'm willing to bet she just wasn't involved in the holdup, or they couldn't be ID'd. But she loves people thinking she did.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, she really eats it up, especially when she knows she didn't do anything. Because she also starts just telling police openly, like, oh, yeah, I can't go to Pittsburgh. Can't kick there. Can't go to Florida. I have 2 guns, if you were wondering. Like, she just is happy to chat. Once they know who she is, she lets it all hang out. She said that she's been accused of theft and that her parents know where she is and that they send her an allowance. I don't know if that's true or
nice.
not. I know. Imagine still getting an allowance when you're out doing whatever she's doing. I'm still not sure. Now, Isabelle's cleared. I think at that point she should have been set free. But instead, they send her to a psychiatric hospital for observation.
No.
Yeah. Now, we might have questions about Isabelle's mental health at some point during the story, but my main issue here is that the entire basis for sending her for this psychiatric eval seems to only be because she's a girl doing man things. Wearing pants and having a gun.
Yeah, she must be deranged.
And that seems to be why they are sending her.
That's so stupid.
The call leader has quite the article on her diagnosis. Ready? You're going to love this quote. The might of a girl with big rolling eyes and a sense of humor, as well as a pack of deviltry, was downright amused when the scholarly doctor, psychologist, psychiatrist, and psychoanalyst reported she is possessed of a psychopathic personality.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Extra.
I don't think that diagnosis is an apples to apples of what we would hear today.
Absolutely not.
They further describe it as a person who is not responsible and doesn't learn from previous results, which is also any teenager I've ever met.
Right.
I mean,
immature is the right word for that.
Isabelle's still a teenager.
Oh, boy.
They basically said she does what she wants, not what she should.
Okay. Doesn't mean she needs to be in a mental ward. She's a kid.
I know. The doctor interviewed said, Most likely, she will continue on a career that will get her in serious trouble. What
No
caused her to
shit.
get that way? I don't know.
Good job, Doc.
And she's finding all of this amusing.
Yeah, you could tell.
And I think that if you think about probably the missing pieces that we're never going to know, I think Isabelle had a choice to deal with whatever trauma she encountered, and she chose to be bold and over the top and use her sense of humor.
Right.
And this is where she's headed. The hospital released her into the care of her mother, so she's back in Elwood, where she told the local papers that she wouldn't be staying long because she needs excitement.
Boy.
You know, which they all love, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And excitement would find her again in September of 1934 after ending up in the hospital in Columbus with a gunshot wound to the leg.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That escalated.
Isabelle had been riding the rails, as you do, when her screams attracted some attention and she was found injured. At first, she refused to tell anyone what happened. Then she claimed that men attempted to attack her. She shot at them, wrestled for the gun, and it went off. Another version, though, of the story by her, both by her, she says that men came into the boxcar where she was.
Yeah.
She jumped out of the boxcar, and when she jumped out, the gun went off accidentally as she landed.
So she shot herself.
Yeah. The police did bring 2 men into custody, but Isabelle refused to follow through with any charges, which also makes me wonder how true the stories were.
Interesting.
She was released from the hospital, and she made her way home to her mother by herself, not telling the hospital that she didn't have a ride or anything. And she asked conductors and drivers, like taxi drivers, to carry her between each stop. She'd be on the train, and then she'd be like, "Can you carry me to that taxi over there?" Because she couldn't
literally
walk.
Carry her.
Yeah, I mean, she is only 90 pounds, as we know. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Later on, an article about this incident refers to the gunshot as self-inflicted accidentally. So that makes me think she probably did jump and accidentally shot herself.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're toting 2 guns,
yeah,
like you do, I mean, it's bound to happen if you're jumping off trains. So before the year's out, Isabelle returned to Miami. She's not supposed to go back to Florida.
Not supposed to go there.
I bet she went in kick-in too.
She definitely did.
The police catch wind that she's there, and they hold her on an open charge. I don't know what that means, but I think they were just like, "You're not supposed to be here. Let's see what you're up to."
Okay.
But other than breaking her promise, she hadn't done anything illegal, so they let her go.
Okay.
Okay. It's not until the summer of 1935 that Isabelle's movements are back in print. This time, she's back in her other favorite city, D.C. It doesn't seem that she did anything, but again, she was arrested.
But she was never told to not go there again.
Right. DC she can go to. But I swear, everywhere she goes, the police are watching her.
Yeah.
And she's subject to another lineup. The Star Press writes, she is a bit of a dramatic type in how she can strut, which we know from...
Yes.
She's got a good strut. She just didn't stand before them with downcast eyes as most persons before a police lineup. She fairly paraded before them. Certain she wasn't wanted here for anything. She walked before the police with confidence and even cast her coquettish eyes upon them as they eyed her.
Oh, love that.
I mean, she's not a shrinking violet, you know? Although police knew who Isabelle was, she was not ID'd for any crimes again. And she did not have a gun on her this time around.
Wow.
Or she had it better hidden, I guess. She said she was reformed.
Yeah, right.
That was June 11th. July 13th, police are looking for Isabelle again after she wrote a stint of bad checks to pay for a stay at an upscale hotel, a department store shopping spree, and just straight cash.
Home Alone 2.
It added up to hundreds of dollars worth of bad checks. DC police caught up with Isabelle in November, and she was found guilty with a sentence of 60 days for each bad check.
Uh-oh.
That should equal 420 days, but the judge allowed her to serve them concurrently, so it was only 60 days.
Oh.
I can only assume she served those 60 days and then got out of DC. There was nothing in the paper about it, but in 1936, it was pretty quiet for the gun girl.
Quiet year.
Or at least that the media knew about. There were only a few small articles in the fall of 1936, but those were only in the local paper. Quote, "Gun girl comes home in style. An Elwood gun girl home to hang around a while."
Oh boy, what a headline.
I know. The Anderson Herald simply states Isabelle was home in September driving a new sport model roadster.
Whoa.
Then again in October, the paper said Isabelle had been working on staying out of trouble with a short stay in jail that April, for which she was proven innocent of a jewel theft.
Oh, okay.
So she gets blamed for a lot of things she apparently didn't do.
Because she's so confident and like, so in the face of the cops.
But also, how is she getting a car?
Yeah, that.
How are you getting a brand new
you
car?
Saw that.
Yeah, in the 1930s. I don't know. 1937 is more of the same. Isabelle returns home for a visit in the summer. She's now sold this roadster, and she's driving a motorcycle.
Yeah. Wow. Love
think
it.
of that.
Love that.
You're going to have to wear pants on a motorcycle.
True.
She said she got the motorcycle because she planned to do stunts as a performer and she was home to practice.
Oh,
she
boy.
told the Anderson Herald that she is lucky because she was born on the 13th and she's been good and has reformed.
Oh.
Isabelle's road to redemption was tested on June 1st when D.C. police arrested her yet again.
Oh, my God.
I know. The Evening Star headline reads, Isabelle Messmer, arrested again, is in town again. There were no charges, but police just can't break a habit. That's what the headline said. They're like, they just like arresting her.
Yeah.
At this time, I don't know if she did it on purpose or if she really was trying to stay out of trouble, but she broke down into tears, which she'd never done before.
Oh.
Again, no charges were filed. She didn't do anything wrong. They just love arresting her.
They really do.
She was released.
Do you think they secretly like her?
I don't know. I kind of get the vibe of she should not be acting like this.
Right.
She should not be wearing pants. She should not be driving a motorcycle. It's so improper and we need to contain her. Yeah. I also think she's probably a sex worker, right? Like that's what the papers aren't saying. Like she's tricking men back to their hotel room.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or she's at least a con woman, right? And a thief.
For sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely some in between there.
And they're just like, go do something else. Like, I don't know. Just let her do her thing.
There's old Izzy again.
I know. Although it appeared Isabelle had been staying out of legal trouble, January of 1938 would start off with a bang.
Oh.
The call leader reported Isabelle was wanted in New Jersey for resisting an officer and molesting men.
What?
I tried to look up what that meant because I was like, there's no way molesting
could be
men.
Bothering.
That's what I think.
Because molestar in Spanish literally means bother.
Exactly.
Bother.
She's not a sexual predator. I think they're talking
isn't it
about.
Fun to imagine for a second.
I know. I was
she's
so
going
confused.
around groping people and then running.
I know because also I was like, that's I can't believe they were putting out in the papers because men also are victims of sexual abuse, right?
Yeah.
And there's a stigma against it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I just can't believe they were talking about it in the 30s. But I think once it all got fleshed out, it means bothering. It means stealing. She's luring them back to their hotel room and then taking money from them, I think. What I could gather, she would get into small fender benders with attractive or wealthy men. And then she'd create this meet cute, flirt with them, and then bring them back to her place or go back to their hotel. And then I assume she's helping herself to some cash or jewelry, right?
Wow.
So I think that's what they mean. She has a real early Seinfeld, George Costanza on his way to a job interview vibes when he gets stripped naked and chained to the bed and she takes $8. That's what I'm imagining she's doing.
Yep.
Now that woman didn't confabulate, so maybe Isabelle isn't either. These crimes probably would have ended in a pretty light sentence, but Isabelle made the situation much worse when she refused to stop after police asked to speak with her. FYI, she's now in a LaSalle Roadster. She's not on the motorcycle anymore.
Okay. I was wondering.
It seems police were doing their favorite thing, which is watching her.
Yeah.
Isabelle showed up with a gentleman, and the plainclothes detectives attempted to stop her for questioning, and she drove away. As she drove away, she hurried a little bit, and she hit one of the policemen with the bumper of her car and knocked him on the ground.
Whoops.
He was not seriously injured. The other officer, still standing, commandeered a passing car. Could you imagine? That would be so
crazy.
A 10-mile chase ensued at speeds of up to 80 miles an hour.
Whoa.
Police fired their weapons, and Isabelle was finally pushed onto a curb and taken into custody.
Damn it.
In Isabelle's defense, she told the police she thought the man attempting to stop her was a bandit.
I mean, because he's playing clothes.
He wasn't playing clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean...
But probably when more cops were chasing her, they were in cop cars.
She probably knew, but I like to think there's a world in which she didn't. And she said something amazing. Like when she got out of the car, she was like, oh, wasn't that fun? or something. Like she just deserved. She's just so hilarious. Anyway, she's taken into custody. She didn't have anything illegal on her, but she did have large amounts of cash in the car, which they had questions about. The officer who she hit sustained minor injuries and was actually back at the station when she arrived.
Okay.
Isabelle threw her arms around him in a hug.
Stop.
And was like, I'm so glad you're okay. And then she pulled up her skirt to show him her scar, too, from the gunshot.
Oh.
And I think maybe a little something extra because she seems to be very adept at talking to gentlemen.
Yes.
It didn't work, though.
Oh.
Because Isabelle hit an officer with her car, the official charge was atrocious assault and battery with intent to kill.
Okay, calm down.
I know, right? Extreme.
Yeah.
That just seems like you want the credit of catching Two Gun Girl.
Yes.
Also, leaving the scene of an accident and speeding. Do you really need that last one? I don't think you do anymore. Obviously, you're not going to leave the scene of a crime at 2 miles an hour. She was sentenced to an indeterminate amount of time in a woman's reformatory, which I didn't know you could do, but other sources said she was sentenced to 7 years.
What?
It seems extreme for somebody who has bruises.
Yeah, that's messed up. She pissed somebody off.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's weird. The way that they're setting her up for this stuff, they're really obsessed with her.
They are. They're obsessed.
In prison, Isabelle is a model prisoner, so good, in fact, that she has enough privileges to just walk off the prison grounds with another female inmate in January of 1939 without anyone stopping her. Bye.
Wow.
Yeah.
See ya.
Just escaped. I guess there wasn't even a fence.
Swamp angels.
Yeah. We're just like, I'll catch you guys later. For 9 months, Isabelle is free.
Wow.
On the run, doing God knows what. Then in October of 1939, Isabelle finds herself in a very familiar predicament.
Uh-oh.
She had a gun on her. Like, cool it with the gun, you know what I mean? She's in the lounge of the Statler Hotel in St. Louis, and she went to pay her bill. Another guest noticed she was carrying a gun in her purse, and they called the police. She's brought in on charge of carrying a concealed weapon. Of course, she gives an alias because it's on her first day, and then they take her fingerprints. And once they take her fingerprints, they realize who she is. Then she's like, oh, yeah, I'm from New Jersey, and I will do anything to avoid going back to New Jersey.
Yeah.
I hate it there, and I don't want to go back. I will do anything you want.
Yeah.
In fact, let me confess to another crime. I murdered semi-pro baseball player Buford Armstrong.
What?
Yep. She just drops it.
She can't murder.
So who is Buford? Buford Armstrong was 29 years old when he was found murdered in the afternoon of April 1st, 1939. He'd been shot through the chest, with estimates that the murder occurred the previous night. At the time of his death, Buford was a pitcher for the minor league team in Odessa, Texas. He'd left home Friday night, saying goodbye to his wife and his 7-year-old son, and then was found at what they call a tourist camp, which is essentially like a motel.
Okay.
Now, Buford had been known around town as a talented athlete, but it was also common knowledge that the only thing keeping him from going to the pros was his ability to get in trouble.
Oh.
With women and the law.
Oh, boy.
He'd served a short stint at Huntsville Prison for robbery. However, once his time was served, he kept out of legal trouble, but he still seemed to get into trouble with women.
Oh, boy.
Because he's married, remember?
Yeah.
Police at the time had very few leads. They're looking for the previous tenants of the tourist camp. They're most interested in a woman who they believe is from Mexico. Apparently, her clothes had been found in the room Buford was also found deceased in. There had been no signs of a struggle. And after the murder, the woman that they're looking for called a taxi from another room and got away.
Oh.
Before Isabelle is arrested, there are only 2 small articles stating that the woman was taken in for questioning, but both times I think that they were mistaken because nothing came from that. There's no follow-up that I could find.
What?
But when Isabelle is brought in, she gives another alias and says that she's from Mexico.
Mexico?
I don't think she speaks Spanish, but apparently the paper said that she was able to imitate an accent. So her story was very believable.
Got it.
Once her true identity was discovered, Isabelle claimed that she had actually been using the alias Dolores Martin while staying at the tourist camp during the time of the murder.
Oh, no. I can't see her murdering, though.
According to her, she obtained the gun from 2 men who told her it had already been used in a murder involving 2 women from California. Now, for a minute at this time, in 1938, a mother and a daughter had been traveling from California to South Carolina, and they'd passed through Texas, and they'd been found brutally murdered. It's still unsolved today. You know, Nancy and Hazel Fromm. And that maybe we'll cover it at some point. It's still unsolved. Isabelle had nothing to do with it. I think she was just trying to get to Texas and not New Jersey.
Got it.
After the confession, Isabelle attempted to hurt herself by diving headfirst onto the concrete.
What?
Nude.
What?
Like she crawled up to like the top bunks. It's not very far. But then she purposely dove headfirst after taking off all her clothes.
In prison?
Yeah. She only sustained minor injuries, as you might expect, because we've all had kids fall off the top bunk.
Oh, boy.
When she's released she has to go to the hospital, obviously. Yeah. Minor injuries. When she's released, the concealed weapons charges are dropped because now she's being faced with murder charges in Texas.
I just don't think she did it.
But Isabelle's confession also includes the detail that it was not murder, it was self-defense.
Yeah.
And although she will enter a plea of not guilty, she continues to say that she'd rather go to the electric chair in Texas than return to New Jersey.
Whoa.
Which makes me think something was happening in New Jersey.
Do you think the cops messed with her in a bad way?
Well, it would have been the prison attendees, right? Not
the
cops. I think something was going on there.
I bet you, especially back then, and probably still today, awful, gross shit happens.
Yeah, I know. Ugh. That's what makes me think there might be just somebody there she's trying to avoid.
Yeah.
At this time, as I was going through the papers, there's also lots of mentions still to Winnie Ruth Judd, who she kind of reminds me of a little bit in some sense. And we know how bad her treatment was at some of the places. So I don't know. Now, according to Isabelle, this is Isabelle's account, okay? She rented a room at the tourist camp because it was near the oil fields where a lot of men were available, so she could continue to do her con. Buford walked into her room wanting drugs. Isabelle did not have any. It didn't seem that Isabelle ever really struggled with addiction, or it didn't seem part of her vibe.
No.
She told him she didn't have any, and he told her he didn't have any money, but that shouldn't make a difference. And she was like, I disagree. That makes a big difference. Why don't you get out of here?
Yeah.
Instead of leaving, he grabbed Isabelle.
Yeah.
Isabelle got free, grabbed her purse off the table and headed towards the door. He grabbed her again, threw her on the bed. So she's on the bed. He's on top of her, but she has her purse because she grabbed it.
Yeah.
We all know what's in her purse.
Gun, baby.
She pulls out the gun, screamed at him one more time to stop, and he would not stop. So she shot him.
Good for her.
This is her account.
I believe her.
It wasn't until March of 1940 that the trial was underway for Isabelle, with jury selection starting at the end of March. And this time, the media is referring to Isabelle's escape from the reformatory school. I'm like, is it a school, though? Why are we doing this?
What?
It's a prison that they're keeping her in. Why are we calling it a school?
To make it sound better.
But why are we trying to make it sound better? I don't understand. New Jersey is also fighting to get her back because they want her to finish her sentence. The trial was fast and it only lasted a few days. And on March 26th, Isabelle was found guilty of murder.
No.
Upon hearing the verdict, Isabelle screamed, "You won't take me back. You won't take me back. You won't take me to the penitentiary." Did I say that right? I always say it wrong.
Penitentiary? Yeah.
Jail. Apparently, she yelled this while jumping on the prison matron. So they had to pull her off. Even though Isabelle was given a sentence of only 3 years, which is pretty light considering the fender bender hitting the other
7.
policeman's knee.
They knew it was self-defense.
Was 7. Well, yeah, here's why.
That's what that tells me.
The only witness they had to the murder was her. She told them. At her sentence hearing, Isabelle's only statement was, "I have told the truth all along. That is all I have to say."
Yeah.
And the call leader summarized her stance, saying that she steadfastly maintained that she had been picked up by Armstrong and that she shot him in defense of her honor after he had made advances towards her.
Yes.
Which is a very nice way to say he attempted to rape her.
Right.
Now, the only reason she received such a short sentence, like I said, is because there was no evidence against her.
Yeah.
There were no witnesses to the crime. No weapon was found. There was only Isabelle's version of events, which she had told them willingly. And the few eyewitnesses they had just seen her before or after, not during.
Yeah.
Right? Like the cab driver who picked her up
Right.
near the camp. And then she told them, I just had some trouble with a man. And he drove her somewhere else. Her lawyer made one last attempt before sentencing to point this out, including the fact that, listen, you wouldn't even have solved this if she hadn't come forward. Still, 3 years. Once the sentence was given, Isabelle's legal team filed for appeal. The judge explained that Isabelle could either attempt an appeal or he would give her credit towards the 3 years she'd already done 6 months, so he would count that as time served towards the 3 years if she dropped the appeal. She decided to go forward with the appeal.
Okay.
On April 6th, Isabelle was denied a trial. On April 8th, Isabelle escaped. Bye. Apparently, Isabelle used a piece of metal from her cot to either jam the lock on her cell from securing or to pick the lock.
Okay.
And then she broke a window in the hall, climbed down the lattice from the third floor, and then dropped 8 feet.
Oh, bet you know.
Another possible theory, because they still don't really know, is that there was a lockbox on the wall and Isabelle was able to somehow reach through her cell and get to it. And they'd left that unlocked and she was able to flip the switch to her cell. I don't know. Her absence was not noticed until breakfast the next morning.
Amazing.
Police called her mother right away and put the house under surveillance because she loves her mom. Wherever Isabelle ran to, the police were left in the dark. By April 16th, there was a tip that Isabelle was hiding out in Reno because a motorist said he picked up a hitchhiker who matched her description and he called after the fact, after he realized it. But they didn't find her.
There's gotta be so many, that's crazy.
It's just with that girl boy disguise, she really opens up. I mean, it's a lot of people. Oh my God. It could be a boy, it could be a girl. Oh my goodness. The next lead was not until April 24th. Still no sign of Isabelle, but a letter was sent to the paper saying that Isabelle would return to Elwood. The letter was really hard to read and not terribly eloquent.
Okay.
It was quickly decided that it was probably a prank.
Got it.
Isabelle's mother told the call leader she thought it was someone wanting to get Isabelle in trouble, but the paper wrote Mrs. Decker's stance as, quote, she was a good girl, and whatever Isabelle did had no reflection on other members of the family.
Oh.
Which is, those two things don't
match.
Also, we just really need Isabelle to be a good girl. That's all we need.
Yeah,
just be a good girl.
Everybody wants that.
Everybody wants you to be a good girl, please. Which is just, I mean, this is a woman now in her 20s.
Yeah.
Right? She's no longer a teenager.
Nope.
But also, if she's not a good girl, don't blame us.
Yeah.
Which, interesting. It would be another month before Isabelle was recognized in Indiana and brought in by police while she was leaving the movie theater. Oh. She declined to confirm her identity, but again, they just took her fingerprints. Yeah. And she was only 15 minutes from Elwood, so a guy from Elwood saw her and was like, that's Isabelle.
Oh, come on, Isabelle.
I know, go to the movies elsewhere.
Right.
Now in custody in Indiana, Texas, and New Jersey are both like, hey, she's ours. Send her to us.
Oh,
they're fighting for her a little bit. But Isabelle was too ill to travel.
Uh-oh.
Too weak to be moved. She was described as malnourished. Others say she was doing it on purpose and was on a hunger strike.
Oh.
But, I mean, she's also on the run, so maybe she's not eating great. She also only weighs 91 pounds, so you miss one meal, and she's 62 pounds. But when she was arrested, or even though she was malnourished, she still had $100 on her. So she had money for food, should she have wanted it.
Get it together, girl.
I know, get some popcorn at the movie theater. Once Isabelle started eating again, her physical health improved rapidly. So that's why I think it was
hunger.
I think she fainted at one point. I mean, blood sugar got low. She fainted and then she just ate and she was like, I'm fine now. But she was very upset with these events and her mental health was under a lot of stress. The police brought in Mrs. Decker to help, and rumors are that Mrs. Decker was considering having her admitted as criminally insane. And when Isabelle found that out, she attacked her mother.
Yeah.
and they had to pull them apart. In an attempt to control Isabelle, the sheriff tried to separate her, and she started throwing things at him, anything she could get her hands on. And then at one point, she has a razor blade on her. Like, why does she have how'd she get a razor blade? And she started, some say she tried to self-harm. Others say she was trying to cut the sheriff, but then accidentally cut herself. At some point, she also started to strip nude. And that's when they're like, oh my God, we need more help. It's okay if she has a razor blade, but if we see a nipple, we're going to lose our minds. So let's get as many people as we can in here. Isabelle was restrained and put on a plane to Texas later that day with 3 law enforcement agents carrying her inside.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, they needed 3 people to get her into a plane.
Carry 90 pounds.
Yeah, so.
She's kicking.
The whole time she's kicking, screaming, and saying things like, I'll kill the first man I can.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
She's cracking a little bit.
Yeah. Once Isabelle was finally back in Texas, things calmed down for a bit. The coverage on her now is in reference to the fact that her and Wendell Willkie, who's at the time was the current Republican candidate for president, were both from Elwood. I love, like, they're like, oh my God, this is breaking news. Like, Isabelle is destroying Elwood's reputation.
That's
and
hilarious.
And Elwood has a presidential candidate. Well, I know. Wendell lost anyway.
Sorry.
Isabelle is giving interviews on Wendell Willkie like they're buds. She's like, yeah.
She probably loves it.
I knew him. I know. And she's kind of quiet at this time, and she spends a lot of her time in her cell reading.
Oh. And
her choice of text is very shocking because, quote, it's very deep and an uneducated person couldn't understand them. Oh my God.
Oh boy.
I know.
Get it together, guys.
They're just constantly underestimating her.
Yes.
Underestimating her intelligence, underestimating her strength, underestimating
every single time
her moral character. They're just like, oh boy. She wore pants and she's reading a book. She can't have a gun. Like, if they'd just left her alone, what would have happened, you know? Anyway, on November 12th, Isabelle breaks free again.
Yes.
Early on, the theory is that Isabelle had help from the inside. Maybe she did, but again, they underestimate her intelligence on the regular. So also, maybe she broke out. Like last time, sightings are all over. One stating a woman fitting Isabelle's description asked to be admitted to a hospital in Texas, and then when pushed for a name, she ran away. Another sighting says that Isabelle was in Elwood, that she had her own plane, flew it into Elwood, saw her mom real quick, and then took off in the plane again for a New Year's Day visit.
What?
I don't know. Mrs. Decker said that was not true and swore that she had not seen Isabelle. And reiterated again that, of course, the most important thing that we all remember is that Isabelle is a good girl.
She's a good girl.
She's still a good girl. Also, I feel like, why are we still making... First off, it's a stupid argument. She's not a dog. But second, like, why are we... Like, I don't know that maybe she is Mrs. Decker.
Yeah.
Like, she's literally escaped prison 3 times now.
I don't know if she's a good girl.
So maybe we use a different adjective, you know?
Maybe we do.
Maybe she's a spirited girl.
There you go.
Or an intelligent girl. Or maybe she's also a woman. Well, the good girl does love her mother. I will give her credit for that, because in March, she evades police again when she does try to go to Elwood to visit her mom. She was spotted in Muncie at the bus station, and as soon as that tip came in, they surrounded her home in Elwood, and somehow Isabelle just like slips out the back door. She's like, "Bye, Mom."
What?
Yeah. On April 22nd, Isabelle Messmer was captured for the last time.
Oh, no.
I know. According to the arresting officer, she was taken in for suspicion of, quote, street walking.
That's prostitution.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Others say she, quote, accosted a plainclothes detective. So I think maybe I think she hit on a man in plainclothes.
Yeah.
She needs to be better at understanding what plainclothes are. And then she attempted to bribe the officer.
Perfect.
Yeah. So one on top of the other. I have to say, though, it's odd because instead of taking Isabelle to the station after that initial accosting scenario, the police officer said he took her back to her hotel.
Excuse me?
Where he wanted to see if there was a man waiting there.
No.
That seems odd, right? And then it was there that Isabelle bribed him. All the while, there was a loaded gun under her seat. Because Isabelle was like, I could have killed him if I wanted to, just so you guys know, and I chose not to.
Right.
But don't you think that that's a little odd?
Weird. Yes.
I don't think that's
100%.
current day procedure.
Nope.
And the paper just dropped it like it was normal. They were like, and then the policeman went back to the hotel to see if there were any men there.
Yeah.
That just seems like a dangerous situation. You don't ever want to be 2 against 1, especially with 90 pounds of nitro.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I just don't know if I believe that. I think
No.
maybe something happened there. Anyway,
Yep.
once in court, Isabelle was herself. The San Francisco Examiner wrote she tried to fight her way to freedom, clawing, kicking, and screaming.
There she is.
And cursing with an abandon that would have brought blushes to the face of a mule skinner.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why are they skinning mules?
No, I looked it up because I knew you were going to ask that question.
Wow, that was really good.
Thank you. I got one. I just did not do the Paris Hilton research, but it's just somebody who drives a team of mules and is good at controlling them.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And do they blush a lot? I don't know. Not a lot of people blush. I would like to know the percentage of people that blush because apparently profanity just makes people blush left and right. Anyway, the same article continued by saying, it took 4 bailiffs and a husky matron to subdue her.
Yes.
You could have just said 5 people.
Yes, I love it.
Do you know what I mean? Like, did we really need to call
husky
out? And one was a
matron.
woman, but she was a big woman.
Yep.
Just 5
Love
people
it.
for this one lady. Anyway, by May 1st, she was back in Texas with promises to be the good girl her mother had been talking about for the last several years.
With these promises and the good girl.
Good girl was her phrase this time.
Oh.
She explicitly said she'd be a good girl from now on. Get these 3 years behind me, get out, get a job, and start all over.
Okay.
Even with this new attitude, she refused to say how she escaped. However, a small blurb in the Anderson Herald claimed the Odessa jailkeeper, who was on guard when she got out, took his own life after the second escape. And they said that was an admission of guilt. I don't know if that's true.
Whoa, that
seems extreme.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think there's so many leaps to make this dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
By 1942, Isabelle was returned to New Jersey to complete the remainder of her sentence there. After that, no one knows what became of the 90 pounds of nitro.
Really?
Yeah. Some say she had the curse of becoming ordinary. And others say that she earned her peace.
The curse of becoming ordinary? That's the most interesting phrase I've ever heard.
Well, I wrote it. Thank you.
Wow. The curse of becoming ordinary.
Her punishment was now that she was just a regular person.
God, that is a curse, isn't it?
I think maybe she just was ready to
settle.
Live life on her own terms. Because she could do a lot of her own thing. She could do a lot of what she was doing if she just made a couple adjustments.
And
you know what I mean?
Swishing her tail feathers.
Well, I don't want her to ever stop that. That seems like one of her many talents. But yeah, so what do you think? I mean, is she a murderer?
No.
She did kill a man.
She protected herself easily. I think she had so many other opportunities to murder. And she wasn't a murderous person. She liked attention.
Yeah.
She got into trouble. She wanted the high, exciting life, but she's not a murderer. Again, she had opportunity to do it before and after, and she did not do it. She protected herself. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, she'd been saying for a decade, I carry guns to protect myself.
Yeah.
I carry guns to protect myself.
I
just protected myself.
Period. She's all by herself.
Yeah.
She's probably considered an immoral woman, so men don't have a problem doing awful things.
Yeah.
And so I totally get it. I'm not, I don't tote guns, but I get why she did.
Yeah, I know. I mean, she's not the most truthful person in the world. We could say that about her. She also made up some stories and some details. Yeah. But she was never violent before or after. And she had been saying repeatedly, I carry guns for this one reason.
And she did
And she never really did anything. Half the time she didn't even do anything at all.
No.
Half
the
time
were just watching her.
They were just like, oh boy, she's causing
back.
Too much attention.
Yeah.
Get back inside and put on a dress.
Exactly.
So, I mean, they were just kind of had it out for her. I don't know.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, I don't know much about the man she killed. I don't know, if she is lying, that's rough for him.
I don't think.
But I think also the sentence shows that they didn't have anything on her.
Exactly. Only 3 years for murder.
They never would have known.
Yep.
It's ridiculous, too, that she got 7 years.
That was crazy.
Bumping
Somebody
a
was
police
just
officer.
pissed off.
Yeah.
Ugh. Love her.
Yeah, I'm kind of
I'm
a
a
fan
fan.
of her. Yeah, I know. I feel bad for her. I think there's more to that story than the papers are ever going to be able to print.
For sure.
And I think that she's ever willing to tell. And
For sure.
I hope that if we look at it under a present day lens with some of the more information we understand about that behavior in children and young teenagers, we can understand that Isabelle probably survived some other shit before she was the gun-toting or two-gun girl, you know? And also there's just, even if not, there's some undiagnosed mental health that they're not touching. And I have a soft spot for her.
I do too. I really don't. The murder was self-defense. And then she did some things she shouldn't have, but she's a good girl.
She's a good girl, just like Ethel's been saying this whole time.
Exactly.
I mean, give it up, Ethel. She's not. She's an adventurous lady. I don't know.
Yeah.
Think about that. She brought home a motorcycle.
Yeah, that's
drove herself
wild.
home on a motorcycle. Most women are barely even driving. And was like, hey, Mom, I'm going to practice some stunts before I go back out on the road. Right. That is a different kind of lady right there.
Oh, wish I knew her.
Well, there she is. I hope she lived out the rest of her life in peace that she chose.
Yes, exactly.
And I hope she had a gun collection.
She probably did.
For protection.
And alternated between pants and dresses.
Yeah. I hope she wore both.
Oh, watch out.
She's like, I've got a dress on underneath that pants. What are you going to do about it?
Boom.
Yeah.
Pantsuit.
Yes, she would look great in a pantsuit. If they make them small enough. She probably has to shop in the children's department. Wow, man. 90 pounds of nitro.
90 pounds of nitro.
Yeah, just a classic case of somebody being constantly underestimated. Maybe if you guys just took a minute to be like, oh, maybe I should just do normal procedure here instead of...
Oh my God, so extra.
I know. Well, thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah,
this was sent
that was
in by
a
listener.
lot of fun.
Yeah, I knew you'd like that one. Who should, or what? I'm sorry, were those your last words?
Yeah, I think so. She didn't do it. She didn't murder. It was self-defense.
Right.
And I wonder what she could be capable of today with less restrictions on women.
I know. I really think she could have been a stunt woman or...
Oh, yes.
I know. A performer of some kind.
Right. What's that guy called?
Oh.
Evil McNevel? No.
Evil McNevel?
What's his name?
That's the Scottish version. Evil Knievel is what you mean. Old Evil McNevel. Yeah, Evil Knievel. Yeah. She could have... Though that's what she pretended to be, but maybe she was. I guess you're not going to have a lot of... it's not on the internet. Now, the vaudeville performances from the 1920s with a lady that tap danced. But and obviously she was intelligent.
Clearly.
Although, also, how do you know she's not just opening a book and pretending to look at it? Are they making her do quizzes after?
Let's do a book report.
Which I also think is another kind of smart. She's like, you know what? I'm going to make these guys think I'm just a genius.
Yeah.
Give me that book on theology, please. And then she just turns pages.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
That's what I would do. All right. Well, who should listen?
Oh, man. Good girls. Spirited girls. Mothers. Cops. Plainclothes cops.
Yeah. Identify yourself, please.
And Evil McNevel. Knievel.
Evil McNevel Knievel.
Is he alive still?
You butchered his name. I don't know if he's going to survive it. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. You can find us on all of the platforms at
Tea Time Crimes.
You can email us at
teatimecrimes@gmail.com. Give us your cases.
Please rate, review, like, subscribe, and send us recommendations for teas and crimes.
Get us to 40 ratings on Apple Podcasts.
Okay. You sound like a robot. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Ta-ta.
Yikes, 90 pounds of nitro.
Nitro.
She would have been a good female wrestler.
Yes, 1,000,000%.
Yeah, stepping into the ring, 90 pounds of nitro. And then there'd be like fireworks.
Fuck yeah.
And then she'd smash somebody with a chair. Yeah, she'd come in on a motorcycle and fly off.
Yeah.
Oh, I have such a different vision for you, Isabelle.
I know.
Dang
She
it.
needed to be born now.
Let her be a cautionary tale. Don't wear duck pants.